So, oh, here we go again. I'll be right back. Give me a second. All right, so I have a few conversations to have, and well, this one doesn't have a title. This would make sense if this one had a title. So just a second. This one's title will be Government versus the Firmament. Okay. There we go. Join me. In a towel. Towel? W-E-L? Oh. There we go. Alright. So hopefully the towel doesn't fall off. And yes, folks, I am obviously looking a little fatter these days. I ate some stuff that affected my Crohn's and I shouldn't have. But I got a bit of a question when this other camera catches up. And it has to do with, well, a couple of different things. One is like how my day went. And the fact that I keep getting told the world is a better place with me in it. I've been trying to understand what that means. All the while, still remembering that the cops arrested me and threw me in jail, and they took my rights of reading my Bible away from me, saying that it was a deadly weapon. Like, they took my belief, my religion away from me. And we are a country who the basic premise is in God we trust, and I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. And many people don't believe in God or the Bible anymore, and a lot of it I'm going to blame on y'all fucking lazy. You lazy cops, you're lazy DAs, you're lazy ADAs, you're lazy attorneys, you're lazy judges, you're lazy governmental system who doesn't read the fucking thing or get a dictionary and or translate it into American. It's still in British, no matter which version. I've talked to so many people today who are authorities on the matter, and I've gone to various different authoritative Bible sales facilities, and they say the same thing. It's still in the British context. It's not in the American context. And no translation hasn't been done yet. And I think I'm going to be taking on some of that task myself, at least in the beginning of Genesis. Because, well, if you say you're a Christian and you don't know the truth of the Bible, or at least any part of it, and you're just going off the 10%ers club, well then you're part of the fucking problem. Okay? And if you're part of a government system that is Christian, Catholic, or Jew, and is putting less than 10% effort in, saying that they're Christian, Catholic, or Jew, please take your cross off. Please take your fucking swastika off. Please take your fucking Star of David off. Please take them all off. Please black out your tattoos. You haven't earned the right to wear them. You wear them in false faith. That's my belief, and I'm sticking to it. So, the question is, as I talk to the granddaughter or great-granddaughter of Joseph Smith, the one who brought Mormonism to light in America. And I talked to a Judeo-Christian today who's quite authoritative in his own manners and rights. And I talked to the Christian Bible Club. And science is a great thing. When science and the Bible come together to denote that certain things are fucking plausible, we're just not old enough or relative enough yet to understand it, and those times will come when they're due. Makes a lot of effing sense. Because for the millions of years that we have existed and the various different forms we've existed, we've understood to look at the stars, there's something out there. And as time goes on, as we've gotten older into these millions of years, some decree that it's only like 7,000 or some shit, but whatever they may be referring to, the form to which we exist in currently, they're just mistaking certain things. So it's all relative, and it's all vastly important. Because at one time we were cavemen and Nephilim and various other things. And so there's this word that is called firmament. And I'm going to use this word to also describe something that I think is still vastly important to me. And this is where the Bible and how government and people should also get along with one another on another level. But first, let's review what a firmament is. And considering we just found the second of the three in their relative nature to where the way they are presented in Genesis, and it is taking millions of years for us to find it. Oh, fucking stupid damn shit. I hate this fucking thing. Alright, so let me see if I can get this fired back up again. Because these guys suck. So we'll use this one. And dow! Bark. What the fuck? Is that what's happening? Is the camera shorting out? Hello? Alright. Alright. We have had a collision. Alright, so the tie was fun and all, but tie's gotta go. I gotta have the suit for the tie. So for now, we'll put the tie down here. Alright, so Facebook, you suck on your own, okay? You really suck on your own. Now, the thing is like, okay, we gotta turn this way. Here, we'll get some like backlighting going on maybe. Might make it a little bit better. Woo! No, it looks like it just made it worse. Here, I got this light right here. Alright, so like, we got this conversation going on. Oh, hey, that made it a lot better. So I need to like, close this one up again. Alright. So it's like, I was saying, I was having a conversation with somebody earlier And the great thing was that the Judeo-Christian and the granddaughter of Joseph Smith both agreed that the firmament, if you will, is a visible or invisible eggshell, and we're in the middle of it, right? And that could be like considered the gravity which holds us on the earth, and we're not talking about like, oh, just the 3 different layers of atmosphere before we get to outer space, because that doesn't fit the requirements for these firmaments. But if you think of everything from outer space into earth as one of the 4 firmaments reference, then you have one of them, right? Well, then that means like you got to go quite some fucking distance before you could potentially find the next one. Well, due to like some latest research advancements and launching of some new telescopes and stuff, we recently found another firmament about 100 light years. I think it's 100 light years or 100 million light years. You gotta bear with me. No, it's 100 light years, because there's some old janky ass piece of equipment that got launched out in this one direction, and it's been out there for like 40 fucking years or something, and just still going, you know. And this new equipment somehow communicated with it, if you will, in a non-verbal sense. You know, and then it communicated with us and allowed us to see this firmament that we're in, and Earth, of all things, of our like solar system or galaxy, if you will, that this firmament encompasses, is about 100 light years out, and Earth is like this dead center of it, kind of like the nucleus of an atom or something, if you will. And there's like this interesting concept that asteroids and meteors and stuff, if you will, since the dawn of the dinosaurs, have been able to enter into the various layers of firmament, right? So you have like these different living organisms and entities. And the thing that I cross-referenced with the Mormon, more so than I did the Judeo-Christian, because just didn't have time at that point, was my questionable acknowledgement that in most Bibles, there's this statement that the winged birds or creatures, if you will, were made in his image instead of their image. And then there is this notation that they were allowed and able to fly through the various firmaments. And then at some point, God decreed, not Lord God, but God decreed in Genesis that they were going to procreate now on Earth. Now, if you think about like going all the way back to like pre-caveman, you know, where there is this concept of like the giants and stuff, and even afterwards, but you have to consider like, you know, you get like 150 million year old dinosaur and 150 million year old giant footprint that are, you know, the same era, and you got to figure out that, you know, maybe humans or some sort of giant creature across the earth rode a dinosaur. But anyways, that would explain where a lot of the bones went. They were processed and used. And then like the giant washing machine and the ice age and all this shit that's happened over these millennia, you know, also explain a great vast multitude of other things in the Bible that are expressed in such a short amount of time in Genesis. But you have to be really open to like the reception of such things, because people are so closed-minded that the narrative of it just escapes them. Like, you see all these fucking Easter eggs everywhere that are just puzzle pieces that fit, and everybody goes, oh no, they can't be. Well, one, you're a fucking D-rate student and an F-rate teacher, for sure, especially when it comes to children. You know, if you are so limited to the concepts of their mindsets, and then when you get into adulthood, Oh my God, no wonder some of the most famous people in the world have offed themselves because they just couldn't stand stupid humans. But that's okay. That's just me just being a jackass. And so it's like you can either program or be programmed, if you will. And it's a good book to pick up to give you a concept, maybe if you're willing to step out of what the book is about and see how you can apply it to other things, especially the Bible. Because you can either be programmed by the power and controls of the will of those who wrote the Bible and edited it throughout all time, and versus trustworthy and true translation. Because trustworthy and true translation, it keeps standing the test of time, but the problem is with it is that it is done in what is called acceptable translation. So that means like there are words that are used across all the various English speaking cultures, but they don't necessarily mean the same thing, and you got to figure out which culture, that English speaking culture, it was pulled from so that you could get its true definition. So like, things like firmament, they've had a few different words for it, but firmament is the most common. And then honestly, when you break down the word, it sounds like a pair of cat testicles. Like this, core that produces these millions of lives, if you will. Because who knows how much sperm a cat or a dog has in its nuts. But a male human's got 2.5 million sperm per shot. So you would figure it's something like that since they pump out like 6 kids at a time or some shit. So, you just contemplate that ratio. And then there's like this liquidy stuff, and then like, and it's a protective layer, and then it's got another protective layer and another protective layer. But the ending would be a furry outer shell. So we haven't made it outside the Big Bang either, or realistically outside of our solar system. So who knows realistically what is on the other side of that. Maybe it is like this celestial fuzziness. But firmament, fur being the first word of the moment, one is a protective layer, which requires another skin layer, so there is a liquidy substance between the two protective layers, but it uses a solid mass reference to explain protectiveness. So some say like a vault, some say other things. A vault though still has like tangibly touchable sides. The atomic structure is made to where you can't pass through the vault. The thing about the firmament, though, and these vaults, is that things were allowed to pass through them. So they are of a celestial nature, not of an earthly bound concept. And like, you have to consider that these are firmaments where things could come and go freely without causing destruction. So if you took like an embryo and you just started stabbing it with stuff like meteorites, eventually, usually on the first stab, the fucking thing is gone. It's dead. It's gonzo. You puncture an egg shell, dead gonzo, right? So it's like asteroids, meteors, and the like have come to Earth all the time. Then you have these birds of sort. Now you gotta remember, representation of a bird was anything that could fucking take off and be not on the ground for a long period of time. And at one point in Genesis, these entities spent a vast amount of time not on a solid surface, and were allowed to go through the firmaments and so forth as Earth was being built. Now, if you consider that concept, that is interesting. It's very interesting because, like, you have the firmament of, like, just Earth's atmosphere, right? And that goes between Earth and space. Okay, so you're talking about an entity alone that could go just between there, right? But now, if you read the Bible correctly, though, and actually, like, do your fucking due diligence, these flying objects, if you will, these birds, winged, now winged, you gotta remember, I guess you could have unwinged celestial creatures that could pass through firmaments, but these particular ones were winged and made in his image. Could pass through firmaments. So there is more than one firmament, and these entities could pass through them. And so, being realistic with it, we had not found any other firmament, if you will, until just as of recently. So we're millions of years into it before we found the second one. And these entities are supposed to have some out there, realistically, in the nature of the book, and some that came to procreate on Earth. So now, if you were to think about it in that nature, you know, and you think about like cavemen and the various different like fashions of cavemen and evolutions of dinosaurs and stuff like this, so a lot of things start to like play in and make sense, because like, you know, if you have an additional species that is brought into Earth that is already very earthling, right, in nature, let's say, you know, made of the same substance, if you will, and have it procreate with already various species of cavemen here, then that would hyperspeed the evolution of what was here on Earth. So, like, there's one way of looking at that, if you were to bounce back and forth a little bit like you're supposed to. And then there's, like, the concepts that, you know, the teeming waters of life, like the firmaments contain various like layers of these waters that are teeming with life. This responsibility that was given to the skies and the waters, and like traditionally, some of these firmaments were just called sky, various levels of sky, you know, and into the celestial, like primordial waters, if you will, outside that of Earth. And so it's like they were able to tell in this recent study that there's a density difference, just like there is on Earth, like if you will, its own gravity. And so, hold on a second, I gotta go get a Q-tip. I'll be right back. Ooh, about lost my telephone. Hey, you okay? All right. I got to feed Noggy. Noggy. And the interesting thing about it is that it's not like Genesis is necessarily like having to refer to this Earth here, but let's say that like in time, you know, and this is speaking to like the future, because well, everybody doesn't believe in the past and they don't like history, which is sad, because like the less you like history, the faster, more repetitive, and more dangerous it repeats itself to like the annihilation of everything. But you know, let's say like we start finding more firmaments, like individual firmaments that are separated from ourselves. So like other, like, you know, think about like, you know, and here's the crazy thing. It's so hard to get a human relative notion to this, because this firmament allows intrusion and extrusion. Where like, if I were trying to like express, let's say that we are like the celestial baby of a god or something, like, you know, I don't know how to express it, but there would be so many firmaments and so much allowed intrusion and extrusion that it's hard to explain on a human level, you know. And so like I was talking to, like I said, my Mormon friend about this, and she was totally like right on with this, and like how it works with the Book of Mormon and so on and so forth. And I was like, well, it's not quite Starship, you know. And she laughed because I always like to tease her about calling it Starship, you know, beating up Scotty religion. But like we're really good friends, you know, so we get to tease each other because like my Omni faith is still hard for her to swallow, right? And it was like, so I was like, you know, and I asked her another question because I've already argued this with like the Judeo-Christian, and he agrees with me too. But I asked her as to whether or not they have different stories as to how Eve got her name and such, and she says no. There's no alteration to it in the Book of Mormon. And so I was like, so you do know that she's named after Eve because she's the mother of all the living, right? Including the human God. And she looked at me and she goes, well, that kind of makes sense because Jesus has to have a mother. And I was like, whoa. And so, like, I was like, all right, we got that inclusion going, right? So, it was... it was pretty interesting. So, like, you know, we got to talking about more stuff. And, you know, I go, like, we have this slight dilemma going on, though. Like, because, like, there is this difference of aptitude and attitude when it comes to God and Lord God in Genesis. And then it follows throughout the rest of the book when you start peeling apart the different gods or lords, if you will. And I'm not trying to be like politically incorrect or like sensitive to people about it, but it's kind of like sometimes even hard for me to grasp my own mind around because apparently Eve, that Eve is named after, would be like God, as in the acronym, the greatest of deities. And then you would have like these various other gods, right? And can it be presented in like let there be light? Could it be presented in a lot of things? But there has to be this very careful consideration because in the very beginning of Genesis, when you're considering the translation as it sits in the Holy Bible today, there is an extremely different view or error or image, or there's a massive error. There's a massive error going on between the words that you read them as is and what they're truly translated into. And it's like, holy fuck. The God of which I think most people are worried about or think that they're supposed to have been praying to the whole time may be in danger and need our help. I'm not entirely sure. But, or may be left in all of what is living, and there's a God in particular which is trying to snatch that away, to take all power for themselves. It is in Genesis though, and if you really think about it and you look at humanity in a whole as it is today and step back from it and try and take it from a different perspective and ask for Mother Earth's help, Eve, if you will. You know, I mean, you could go Eve in a lot of different directions without insulting her. You know, there's definitely some help that's needed, and some very rotten children are at play. So, like, if you want to consider something, let's take Lord God, creator of Adam, for instance. If you step back from your religious base and what you were blindly taught to believe, which creates such catechism in your mind, you would believe and come to see that the Lord God that created Adam is a lion manipulating troublesome child, very much like, well, I couldn't quite explain it right at the moment without someone else's help, because now it eludes me. But you would have to pick up Genesis and read it for yourself and step back away and ask yourself a few key things. You know, who does this character more seem like out of the pantheon of beliefs? And then once you start thinking about that, other characters start coming to light a lot, and you start noticing some things that are vastly interesting, and it causes you to want to pick up some books. So back to this firmament. You know, Vancouver, Washington needs help, and we caused it to ourselves, but we need to work together to fix it. And I posted a video earlier on my YouTube channel where I was walking the city, and trust me, a lot of this help is being asked from the people themselves, but they're just being blindly swept under the rug because their own families don't want to deal with it no more. And the funny thing is that if you keep thinking about America, America is built on a place where we all wanted a place of our own. We were all given that right. We were all allotted that right. We were all allotted land grab at one time. And now that so much of it is owned by certain peoples, and most of it is owned by foreign people now that don't even live here in our country, to be God honest truth with you, we are no longer allotted spaces of our own. We're forced to deal with what is. And that was very much something that we all got tired from, our ancestors did, from where we came from, and started building this place. And some bad decisions were made along the way. And I don't know how it happened other than we took tutelage from countries that we shouldn't have. But, you know, there are places like Denmark, there are places like Amsterdam, there are places like Cabo San Lucas that have these justifiable areas where things happen, and they're monitored and they're policed, and they are giving proper means to make it happen, right? And so, like, in Vancouver, Washington, we have these recovery houses, we have these homeless shelter houses, we have these things. But see, here's the thing. There is a society of people that want to live in tents. They want to build their own little pop-up structure in a place that they can communionize, right? And so this is actually very biblical. And the thing about it is like when the city and the town treat these people of equality, right? They're just different. They're addicts. They're active addicts. They don't want to have to like do some of the things they do to achieve what it is that they need to achieve to continue their high, right? So, yeah, always. Sorry, I noticed that there was somebody watching and then they went boop, and left. Ah, fuck you too. But here's the thing, right? So we have all of Clark County, and we had a place or a couple of places where encampments were being built, and there was a sense of establishment that was being developed. And it takes time when you don't have a leader, and it takes even more time when you have a piss poor house leader running a men's shelter that uses bully tactics to do things. But here's my fucking point, right? There's so much more money that could be made than what is being lost. There's so much more safety that can be gained than what's being lost. There is so much more proper crime that can be sought after than what's being lost. If we gave these people a community with resources, a dog park, a basketball court, a church, a street pasture, clean needles, clean healthcare, semi-dedicated emergency services, foot patrol, and their own district representative, right? And give them their own theft mark, give them their own this and that, and you could have a whole educational background going on You could have whole data analysis going on. These people already know this shit goes on. These people already know that they get monitored all the time, no matter where they build an encampment. But the thing is like, instead of making a mockery out of the whole thing, work together. Like, seriously. Like, I mean, we got to talking about all kinds of things where all kinds of different venues of money could be made and presented to the rest of the world. And it could come from Vancouver, Clark County, the fucking coolest place to be, right? But nobody wants to listen to us or them, or even be able to like sit down at the same table, shake hands, and have a little bit of fun with it at least, because again, there's so much more money to be made, like straight up, especially if you become the leader in a new way. You know, Washington was once a leader in many things and has fallen wayside to, it's no longer a leader in anything, I don't think, anymore. But Clark County could be a leader again. Clark County could be one hell of a leader again, right? Especially Vancouver. But, you know, that encompasses a lot of help. I mean, Battleground, Yakal, Amboy, the center. I think the center might be stretching it, so they don't like to be associated with the rest. Neither people from Washington either are Canvas. They're like, we don't want to be associated with you. But, you know, there's so many resources that are being wasted. Absolutely fucking wasted. Like, millions of dollars just wasted against our kids. And that is sad. That is sad because, like, dude, back in our drug addict days, like, we could glean money to do drugs and, like, have, like, events for kids and shit. That's what it was, because it was about family, not destroying them. And granted, we're in a period of destruction because nobody listened to us. And they all thought they knew what was best. And what they thought what was best was looking the other way, not holding themselves accountable for what they were doing wrong. And I'm not talking, like, see, here's the thing. The whole system gets cheated because cheating has to happen because things are fucked up. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, the system wouldn't be cheated if it was right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wouldn't be cheated if it was right. And then there wouldn't be 500 million fucking rules added on top of it. Like, there's like, okay, RCWs alone. Just RCWs, okay? This isn't DOCs or anything else. Just RCWs. There's 250,000 of them. Like, and then under an RCW is all the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, J, K, blah, 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 blah. And under every A, there could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you're just talking about RCWs, not even all the subcategories or definitions to 250,000 different rules, right? So by the time you get down to it, if I remember right, it's like 4 million lines of RCW subcategory, subcategory alteration, and like abridgments, and you're supposed to know this as a citizen. Like 4 million lines of code I'm supposed to know so that I could live amply and successfully in the state of Washington. No wonder people cheat the fucking system. It's not right. You can't live. You're being strangled. You can't breathe, right? And so what's going to happen? God's going to tell you, like, there's too many rules. There's too many laws. I'm going to show you that they're not all going to get followed because they shouldn't be there, right? You're supposed to look after your citizens, not, like, take everything away from them. God, I feel fat. Ugh. So, like, I'm jaw-jacking, though. I miss somebody. Oh. I love it when she lays on me. It's like wearing her skin on my chest. Anyways. Oh, my gosh. I should probably draw. Give myself something to do. But, you know, I still got my own Bible studies to do. I should at least a half hour a day, right? Always. But it doesn't happen. because my brain is going through like massive amounts of correction to like 40 years worth of, well, this is just it, and if we don't have an answer for you, we just don't have an answer for you, and they're supposed to be all your leaders, and you get kicked out and stuff. And it's like, when shit doesn't make sense, if it doesn't make sense to a kid, how can you accept it as an adult and then feed it to everybody, right? So it's like, that doesn't work either. So, you know, one of the greatest things that Jesus could ever remind everybody before he died, was like to do your studies too. Like, you have to learn about it all as well. And if Eve is the mother of all the living, and Jesus is the Son of God, then thank you, Eve. And I'm sorry we killed your son. We could have learned so much more from him. But hey, you know. But it also makes something also interesting, because there's a Shira, which was God's wife too. So if that would make Jesus Eve's grandson or great-grandson? I don't know. See, this gets so cataclysmically more interesting, and it's hard to like redo all of this information inside your brain all by yourself. Like, it really is. It's hard. Because like, here's the concept of firmament as humans understand it. A hard surface that when penetrated, what is inside dies. Ah! Not gonna kill the firmament inside unless you put something nasty in there. Like, I don't know. I mean, look, I don't got enough fur in my balls to find out putting something inside my balls. Oh yeah, hey, one of my brothers got his nuts all fucking done up with studs and loops and shit, so he pierced his firmament. All right. Okay, so like, freedom of religion is important. So the rise and fall of religious freedom. If Jesus and Constantine the Great had met, this world would be a much happier, better place. They didn't get a chance to, which sucked. And then program or be programmed. I recommend these books when reading the Bible, because, you know, as it says in the Bible a lot, and it does reference it a lot in the Bible, that there is some corrupt stuff. So, you know, either way, I hope you have a wonderful day.